Hi, I'm Peter P.T. Townend. Not only am I the first world surfing champ, but I love this sport right here in Huntington Beach. We're going to celebrate the sport, its culture, lifestyle, and the amazing surfers that came before and after me that hit the waves around the world, including here in Surf City. We're going to share the PT collection with you on Surf Scene.
Welcome to Surf Scene. I'm Peter Townend, and we've got a great show today. A guest that I go way back to the 70s with, Llamas, and we have a long history together. I judged his first ever big win when he won the NSSA Nationals in 1978 at Huntington Beach Pier, and of course I was part of the NSSA era as well. He was going out as I was coming in, and of course we had lots of different times together. I even coached him for a little bit. Even had a few heats against him. Yeah. and those were good too. Welcome to the show, buddy Lum.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm stoked to be here. Yeah, for sure.
I have to start with this collage right here of the early days.
Yeah, very early.
and what are your memories about '78 and the NSSA Nationals?
Just getting to travel and see other countries, and that was of course you're looking at maybe possibly turning pro and this and that, but then was you actually had to do good and be decent in school to be on the team if you got picked to be on the national team, and for the first year of them starting, that was really good that we actually got to go places. We went to Peru.
Well, you got to go to Australia too.
I went to Australia for me and actually NSSA, I think, paid for Joey Baran because he was the highest pro from USA, and me and him went and surfed in the Pepsi Pro Junior, which is was nobody internationally ever surfed in it. So that was actually got to go with Mr. Rob Hill, my surf coach from Huntington High School. And he was our chaperone because we were both 17. But it was great, yeah. And I placed 9th in there. Joey didn't do as well, but it was a great trip for us, as far as being from America and surfing against the top guys from from Australia: Shane, Tommy Carroll, Joe Engel. Yeah, I mean the list. Glenn Winton. It goes to all the guys that turned pro.
And around that same time, pro surfing was in California was just starting to percolate again, because the NSSA was, in essence, in those days amateur. But all of a sudden, there were things like the Body Glove Grand Prix, which didn't exist before, and all of a sudden there was this mini circuit, and you were straight into it.
Yeah, of course. I think I'm not sure, but I might have, like when I turned pro, I was probably 1981, right after the Stubbies. And then I think I did a few contests. I couldn't get to every contest, So anyway, that popped up. I might have even missed a couple of the
And we had the Caton too. Of course, you ran the Caton.
We did the Caton every year with the team event, which was super fun, and all the top pros came. Which was cool.
Speaking of the Caton, we got an interview from you from way back in those days with a killer wave.
Yeah.
And also, we've got some really killer footage of you at the south side ripping on the black rail board, and we're going to go check that out now.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's do it.
Just got a new board a couple days ago, so everything seems to be going pretty good so far.
Are these waves, you think, going to favor you, or?
Yeah, because it's bigger, and usually when it's smaller, it's harder. But the bigger waves, it's a lot better for sure.
Bud's radical surfing contradicts his relaxed and personable manner on the beach. For when Bud enters the lineup, his tempered energy explodes and his surfing just takes off.
Well, that footage is killer, Bud. What I find really interesting about the Southside footage is your early days of doing aerials. You're talking about the beginning of the 80s, that footage, and there weren't too many guys doing that stuff then.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of working on that stuff, as you can see in some of the footage that I'm falling a lot, you know what I mean? But, you know, you ain't going to perfect anything unless you keep doing it and doing it.
Right.
And, you know, and I made a few, and then later I got better at it, and it just extended from me doing a real off the lip, and, you know, and it.
So trying to be a pro surfer around that time, it was just the beginnings of people starting to get sponsors. And if I remember correctly, you had O'Neill and you had Billabong, and I think at that time you were on Randy Lewis boards pretty much most of the time, right?
Yeah, because when I actually went on tour, coming off Chris Hawk boards, I didn't want to leave Chris, but I had to, but else I couldn't get anywhere. And then Randy Lewis Surf and Sport during that time, you know, helped me, you know, kind of get there along with the other sponsors to some of the contests. So.
Well, Billabong was one of the bigger ones. Like when it came to the big guys, that Billabong was one of the big guys.
Billabong definitely was one of them, and and O'Neill, and you know, and then there's other little sunscreens and, you know, stuff like that.
Well, and through the Billabong one, of course, Australia, that connection, you got to go to Australia quite a bit because now you were having an attack at the tour.
Yeah. So no, that was good. You know, they're one of the biggest companies come out of Australia, so it was an honor to be, you know, on that team and with the surfers that was on it and hanging with them and surfing with them. Surfing with the best surfers is, I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Right.
Know?
So we're going to get to this a little later about one of the great events that you were involved in was the Body Glove Surf Bout at Trestles in Perfect Surf with Slater. But to get to that point, I have to talk about, so before we got there though, so most of the 80s you were an 80s guy and you were doing all the contests, and if I remember, your best ever result was in Atlantic City. You got a second to Wes Lane.
Yeah, that was a highlight, I would say, for sure, on tour for me. And, you know...
You're taking after me, got second, mate.
Yeah, I know. But it was like, it boosted me up on the ratings. But every time I was just one or two cuts behind the seating order, because each year it changed. You know, went from 16 to 20 or something, and then 32. And each time I was like, just one underneath. It was like, but you know, just doing the tour and the whole thing, the experience was great.
So that, you know, like we're gonna end later on with that Body Glove event. But so then you transitioned into becoming a guy around town, a local hero. You know, surfing the local contest for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then here we are today in the 17th Street Board Shop.
Yeah.
Which is over a decade now.
Yeah.
And so tell me about being a retailer.
It is tough, let me tell you. No, for sure. Especially with, you know, Main Street. There's all the huge shops on Main Street. I'm just a smaller shop. And, you know, and I had
But you have a pretty serious local community in this walking distance here,
This
right?
building was empty for a while. And we go to the donut shop and stuff before in the mornings and stuff. And me and my partner, Jerry Mulford, and we, you know, decided, let's do this. You know, we thought about it, kept talking about it. And then we're like, you know, it was 2009. So it was like the economy was it was tough. People were going, you're crazy to do it. But we did it, and his neighbor was a carpenter, and we just kind of went off this kind of 70s style, old shops. I kind of went off George Draper from Georgia Surf Center, kind of remember stuff from hanging out there when I was 10 years old. You know, and I always dreamed of having a surf shop, my own shop, and so...
You're your own retailer. You got your own store down there, 17th Street, and so the legacy continues with Bud the Llama.
Yeah, just another chapter, and you know, just trying to make it happen. Just trying to make a shop like used to be, you know, in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. So
Here we
did
are.
it.
Here we are. 10 years later, you
Yeah.
got married to Amber.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have a son, Braxton.
Yeah.
I see him hanging out here in the shop.
Yeah, every day. Every day after school. School's just up the road, as you guys know. Yeah, and my wife, we've been hanging together for a long time before we got married, and then here comes the shop, my kid, and everything, all at once, in the right order.
In the right order. And you got all that other stuff out of your system, right?
Yeah. So, I traveled a lot. I did a lot of things. And so I was like, it was a good settle down, and then I had a bunch of surgeries that really set me back on far as my surfing again. So hopefully this summer maybe I can get something going just to get out there and cruise with you, PT.
It's all about what Jerry says, keep paddling out, mate.
Yeah.
But with the shop, I think it's really cool that like you're sponsoring kids like this kid Dylan who's been real successful out there at the moment in the amateur level in California.
Yeah. Dylan Sloan. It seems like I got the younger kids and then they come up, but Dylan's been hanging with me for a while, and, I'm pretty much, I see something good there, so I'm trying to just help him, go on his way. He just turned 14 and he's taller than me,
That happens, bud.
Yeah.
I got to get to talking about the Bud Surf Tour and the Surfabout at Trestles.
Yeah.
It was like your last hurrah. It was like at 29, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because Slater's still on tour and he's 50.
I know. I know. It was back then, though, it was like if you're coming up to 30 and stuff, it was like, okay, just,
Time to get a real job.
Yeah, you gotta. And most guys pulled out, and I mean, some guys pulled out way earlier. Like if they were one of their sponsors, they went to work for the sponsors, like Willie Morris. Went to Quicksilver.
Became sales reps or team managers.
And they all went that angle. I go, I'm hanging on for a little longer, because I was still surfing decent. So I did that, and then okay, now this should be.
So
good.
what do you remember about that day at Lowe's?
Man, that day was just like the best lowers I've ever surfed, right? And each heat with that, it's like I was just imagining the Hui, shootout with the guys with the 4 guys out. You know what I mean? But
Never get to surf
but you never
like
get to surf pipe or trestles. It's just crowds. But when each heat we went out, like the guys in our heats, we would go, look at this. We wouldn't even care. We were like, we're surfing perfect trestles. We want to beat each other, but we're whistling for each other. It was like, it was still super fun. Yeah.
That was like kind of the last real Bud contest where you felt like I'm here, I'm hanging with. The new guy was Slater coming up. He had Brownie and Charlie Coon.
Yeah.
And Charlie Coon was more your era.
Yeah.
And Brownie was somewhere in between. He was a little older than Slater, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So that was it was definitely my last ride. I was like, I wasn't traveling nowhere. I wasn't going nowhere. And I was just like, well, trestles, here we are.
It was a good way to go out, though. You got a 10.
Oh, yeah, no, I got my, I got one of my last 10s on my last go, so who wouldn't want that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, everyone knows that Slater was coming and, so Slater, you kind of you owe me a little money.
Can you believe he's still on tour?
No, well, he's in great shape. He keeps things going, he's got a wave pool.
He's got his own practice place every day. Well, Buddy Llama, it's great to have you on the show. Yeah. We're going to end this show with that classic stuff from Trestles where you're just ripping it. We got that perfect 10. We're going to see that.
Good.
We're going to go to that now, and we'll see you on the next surf scene.
Yeah. Thank you.
He'll go backside. Look at the size of this wave, well over his head. Big slash. He's still got a lot of open ocean to work with. A big wave. It's still forming up nicely for him. So he's had 2 big slashes. The backsider just ripping this wave to shreds. Another big looking bottom turn. Whitewater flying everywhere. And he ends it all with an elevator floater. and he finally goes into the white water. That's a high-scoring wave.
Well, that'll be
for
close.
the fringe.
So that'll be close to 10s there, Mike. That was incredible.
There's more of that great stuff to come, but I'm going surfing right now. There's waves out here.